The bus engine hums a steady, soporific tune as we roll through the darkened highways, the city lights dwindling behind us like dying stars. I'm slouched in my seat, the stiff fabric itching against my neck, but exhaustion weighs my eyelids down. Lana, my wife, curls up beside me, her head resting against my shoulder. Across the aisle, Mike, my lifelong friend and occasional confidant, flicks through a magazine, his face illuminated by the overhead light. "Are you comfortable, babe?" I murmur to Lana, who only hums in response, snuggling closer. "Yeah, sleep while you can," Mike chimes in from across the aisle, a smirk playing on his lips. Once we hit New Orleans, it's gonna be non-stop. The plan had been simple, a weekend getaway, a break from the monotony of work and the creeping malaise that sometimes shadows a marriage past its honeymoon phase. Lana had been more enthusiastic than I'd seen in months, her eyes alight with the promise of jazz, street food, and perhaps, recapturing some old spark. "Thanks for this, Jake," she whispers, her breath warm against my neck. "I needed it." "I know," I reply, squeezing her hand. The bus lurches around a bend, the inertia pulling me into a shallow sleep, filled with the murmur of tires on asphalt and the soft cadence of Lana's breathing. I awaken to a different rhythm. The bus is silent now, save for the low growl of the engine and the occasional rustle of movement. I blink, disoriented, the digital clock on the bus's front panel glowing 2:17 a.m. The overhead lights are dimmed, casting long shadows that dance with the motion of the bus. Turning slightly, the cold absence beside me cuts through the haze of sleep. Lana's seat is empty, her purse still dangling from the armrest. Rubbing the sleep from my eyes, I glance around and stiffen. Under the dim glow of the emergency exit sign, I see them. Lana and Mike, a tangled silhouette beneath a thin blanket. I watch, numb and disbelieving, as Lana's hand emerges, pressing against Mike's mouth in a silent plea for quiet. The world tilts, a sickening slide of reality into something twisted. I feel like a spectator in my own life, viewing a scene played out in surreal, grotesque detail. The betrayal isn't just palpable, it's a visceral blow, a physical ache that starts in my chest and spreads its icy fingers through my veins. With a calmness that belies the storm inside, I stand, my movements mechanical. Lana's eyes catch mine, wide with shock and something like fear. Mike's face is a mask of guilt, his apology a stammered whisper lost beneath the drone of the engine. I don't speak. What words are there for such a betrayal? Instead, I walk to the driver, my voice even. "Stop the bus. I need to get off." The driver eyes me in the rearview mirror, a flicker of confusion passing over his face, but he pulls over on the next exit ramp. The cold night air hits me like a slap as I step off the bus, the door closing behind with a soft hiss. Behind me, the bus disappears around a curve, taking with it the life I thought I knew. Ahead, the road stretches out, dark and uncertain. I start walking, each step a crack in the facade of my old life. As dawn breaks, the first rays of light ignite a fire within me, a fire for retribution, for rebuilding from the ashes of my broken trust. Lana and Mike's betrayal is a wound that will scar, but it will not define me. I will rise from this, stronger and more determined. Lana will realize the magnitude of her mistake, but by then, I will be long gone, a ghost of her past, leaving her to reckon with the ruin she wrought. This is just the beginning. As the first light of dawn washes over the horizon, the chill of the night begins to retreat. My legs are numb from walking, the road seemingly endless, but a small diner with neon lights flickering open offers a sanctuary. The bell over the door jingles sharply as I step inside, the warm smell of coffee and frying bacon enveloping me. The waitress, a middle-aged woman with streaks of silver in her hair, gives me a once-over. "You look like you've had a night." "Coffee?" "Please," I nod, sliding into a booth by the window. As she pours a steaming cup, her eyes linger on mine, reading more than I want to share. "Rough night, hey?" she prods gently. "You could say that," I admit, taking a careful sip of the hot liquid. Before she can inquire further, the door swings open again, admitting a gust of cool air and two men. They're in heated conversation, and one of them, a burly man with a thick beard, looks particularly agitated. "It's just gone, all of it," he's saying, his voice a mix of anger and panic. We've got to do something, Mark. Mark, more composed but with worry lines etching his forehead, nods. Let's eat and think this through, Pete. They choose a booth near mine, and I can't help but overhear snippets of their conversation about stolen property and betrayal. It resonates too closely with my own turmoil. The waitress, Nancy according to her name tag, returns with a sympathetic smile. Here you go, hun, anything else? Just the coffee, thanks, I reply, my thoughts still on the men's conversation. As Nancy attends to the newcomers, I ponder my next steps. The initial shock of betrayal has settled into a cold determination. Lana and Mike's deceit won't just go unchallenged. I need a plan, resources, allies. Pete's voice rises in frustration, pulling me back to the present. We can't just let them get away with this, Mark. That's everything I had in that truck. Mark's response is low and measured. And we'll get it back, but we need to be smart. Think who has the motive? Who knew about the shipment? Their plight, so parallel to my own, stirs an idea. Reaching into my pocket, I pull out my phone and type a quick note. Maybe there's a way to align our interests. Finishing my coffee, I stand and walk over to their table. Excuse me, I start, garnering their attention. I couldn't help but overhear. I think I may be able to help you. Pete looks suspicious, but Mark's interest is piqued. And why would you want to do that? He asks cautiously. Because I'm looking for some answers myself, I confess. Maybe we can help each other out. You need to find your stolen property, and I need. Well, let's just say I have my reasons for needing to know how to make someone regret their decisions. There's a tense silence as they consider. Finally, Mark nods. All right, let's hear it. As we huddle together, my mind races. This unexpected D2 might just provide me with the resources and the alliance I need to strike back. And as we start to plot, I realize that my journey isn't just about revenge, it's about reclaiming control of my life. First, we need information, I suggest, and they nod in agreement. The plot to unravel the mystery of Pete's stolen goods, and perhaps my own heartache, begins to take shape. With each strategy we devise, the path forward becomes clearer, and a sense of empowerment, long lost to despair and betrayal, slowly begins to return. The morning sun climbs higher as we sit huddled in the back of the diner, maps and smartphones scattered across the table. Mark, with his calm demeanor, contrasts sharply with Pete's restless energy. The waitress, Nancy, keeps the coffee coming, her curious glances betraying her interest in our intense discussion. All right, so you say this route here was where your truck was last seen? I point at a mark on the map, trying to piece together their situation with the efficiency I had once reserved for my corporate projects. Yeah, right outside Carson's mill. It's quiet, not many places to hide a truck, especially one that size, Pete explains, tapping the spot vigorously. And you think it's an inside job? I ask, turning to Mark for his insight. It has to be. Only a handful of people knew about the cargo, and even fewer knew the route, Mark replies, his brow furrowed. I lean back, thinking. We need to draw them out, make them believe they can get away with it again. How do you suggest we do that? Pete asks, skeptical but desperate. We set a trap. Another shipment, same route, but this time we're ready for them, I propose, feeling the adrenaline of the hunt beginning to surge. Mark nods slowly. It could work, but we'll need eyes on the ground and some serious backup. We can't afford to spook them. That's where I come in, I say. I've got a few contacts from my days in security. Let me make some calls. Stepping outside, I dial numbers I hadn't touched in years, reconnecting with old colleagues who now might serve a new purpose. Each call rekindles a part of my past I thought I'd left behind, but now, those connections feel like lifelines. Returning to the table, I see Pete's eyes filled with a mix of hope and anxiety. Got 2 guys, ex-military, who will help us out. They're good, and they owe me. Thank you, Jake, Pete says, his voice thick with gratitude. I can't tell you what this means. We're in this together, I assure him, clapping a hand on his shoulder. The plan is simple but risky. We decide to move quickly, setting the stage for the fake shipment 2 days from now. As the day progresses, we gather more intel, scouting the location and coordinating with my contacts. The tension builds, each of us aware of what's at stake. For Pete, it's his livelihood. For me, it's a chance to channel my betrayal into something tangible. Night falls, and we're back in the diner, finalizing our strategy over burgers and fries. Nancy hovers nearby, her interest piqued. "You boys planning something big?" she asks, nodding towards our cluttered table. "Just trying to right some wrongs," Mark replies with a wry smile. She nods, understanding, perhaps, that some conversations are best left unprobed. "Well, you've got my support." "Just be careful," she advises, pouring more coffee with a steady hand. The next morning, as we prepare for the operation, the air is thick with anticipation. We position ourselves near the route, hidden but watchful. The bait truck rolls by, driven by one of my contacts, and we wait in silence for any sign of the thieves. Hours pass. The tension is palpable, every passing vehicle a potential threat. Then, a suspicious van appears, slowing down as it approaches the truck. We hold our breath. "This is it," Mark whispers, readying his phone to record. The van edges closer, and as it does, several figures jump out, moving quickly towards the truck. We spring into action, emerging from our hiding spots with shouts, catching the thieves off guard. The confrontation is brief but intense. With my friend's training and our careful planning, the thieves are subdued, their surprise at the ambush evident in their wide, fearful eyes. As the police arrive to take over, Pete claps me on the back, relief flooding his features. "We did it, thanks to you, Jake." But as I watch the thieves being led away, my thoughts drift to Lana and Mike. This victory, sweet as it is just a step towards a much more personal resolution. The fire of betrayal still burns, and my journey is far from over. The sun sets on the horizon, casting long shadows over the city as I stand outside the precinct, the events of the day replaying in my mind like a gritty film. Pete and Mark, now clearing up the last bits of legal paperwork inside, have their justice. Their thieves, caught red-handed, face long years ahead. Yet, my heart's quest for retribution remains only partially fulfilled. As I ponder my next move, my phone buzzes, a message from Lana, the first since I left the bus that fateful night. "Jake, we need to talk. Please, it's not what you think. Meet me at the old pier. Alone." Her words gnaw at me. Part of me yearns for closure, while another part dreads the confrontation. Yet, the pull is irresistible. The old pier, once vibrant and bustling, now stands desolate, the perfect stage for ending this chapter of my life. As I approach, the sound of waves crashing against the shore fills the air, the salty wind biting at my skin. Lana stands at the edge, her silhouette framed by the fading light. "Jake," she breathes out as I draw near, her voice a mix of relief, a salty wind biting at my "Thank you for coming." "Lana, just tell me why," I demand, the hurt clear in my tone. She hesitates, then her resolve hardens. "It was all a setup, Jake. From the start. Mike and I, it was never real." I stare, confusion and anger swirling within. "What are you talking about?" She steps closer, her eyes pleading. "Mike approached me weeks ago. He said it was the only way to get you out of the mess you didn't know you were in. Your company, they've been under investigation for fraud. Mike thought if you had a reason to disappear." The pieces click into place, a bitter puzzle resolving itself. "So, you sacrificed our marriage to save me from a scandal?" "It was supposed to be temporary. Just until things cooled down. Then, I'd explain everything," she insists, her eyes welling with tears. "And I was supposed to what? Forgive and forget?" I scoff, the absurdity of it all overwhelming. "Way to get you out of the mess you did out," but I step back, the gulf between us wider than ever. "Jake, please?" "No, Lana. It's over." My voice is steady, my decision final. Turning away, I leave her standing there, the sound of her sobbing swallowed by the roar of the ocean. The walk back is long, and with each step, I shed the remnants of my old life, the pain, the betrayal. 2 weeks later, the papers are signed, the divorce finalized. Pete and Mark, still grateful for my help, have offered me a partnership in their now secure business. It's a fresh start, a chance to rebuild on new foundations. As I sit in my new office, the cityscape sprawling before me, a sense of peace settles over my heart. The door opens, and Nancy walks in, a smile on her face. "Thought you could use some coffee," she says, setting down a cup on my desk. "Thanks, Nancy. How'd you find me here?" I ask, taking a grateful sip. "Pete told me. Said you might need a friend," she replies, her knowing eyes softening. "I appreciate it," I respond, the warmth of the coffee seeping into my bones. As she turns to leave, she pauses. "You know, Jake, sometimes the worst things lead us to the best places. You ever need anything, I'm just a call away." I'll remember that, I promise, watching her leave with a newfound appreciation for the unexpected turns of life. The phone rings, snapping me back to the present. It's a client, ready to move forward. As I answer, ready to take on whatever comes next, I realize that while the road has been rocky, it has led me to a place of strength and new beginnings. Lana and Mike are now just echoes of the past, lessons learned on the way to a better future.